Ghetto.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I went to watch Materialists yesterday, and girl, we need to talk about this movie. If you're anything like me, then you were really excited for this movie to come out. The trailers for it looked so good. Love triangle between Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans, sign me up any day. It was giving rom-coms are back. It was giving grab your girls, grab your florals and come see this movie. I was seated for this, okay? This movie is one of A24's newest installments, and I say one of because it feels like A24 drops a new movie every month at this point. Even the trailers before this movie started were for other A24 movies, and I was just like, girl, how many movies are y'all dropping this year? But anyways, I think a lot of people were really excited for this movie because it felt like rom-coms were finally making a comeback, especially considering a lot of people were really disappointed with Anyone But You, which was supposed to be rom-coms like big return to the big screen, and that movie wasn't really it. I did go to watch this, and I just need to share my thoughts because it was not at all what I was expecting. If I had to describe this movie in one word, I would just say it was disappointing. I won't go as far to say that I want a refund or anything, but I will say that my movie ticket was $18, almost $19, and there was definitely a time where it was fun to go to the movie theater and find out there for yourself if the movie was good or bad. But girl, when my ticket is costing almost $20, the movie better be good, okay? It better at least be what the trailers advertise. I can't afford to go F around and find out at the movies anymore. Faffling at the movie theaters is a practice lost to capitalism, lost to inflation, okay? I can't afford it anymore. Like, $20 ticket is crazy, plus the $5.50 water bottle that I had to purchase because I was thirsty. God forbid I had gotten some popcorn or something. People next to me had snacks. Girl, I don't even want to know how much that cost though. So if I had one piece of advice for y'all, wait till this mess is on digital. Like, don't waste your money going to the movie theaters for this, girl. It's not worth it. Wait till it's on streaming. I promise you, you will be happy you did. But before we even get into all of this, I want to pause and talk about the sponsor of today's video, ZocDoc, because girl, trust me, you're gonna want to seek medical attention for the headache you're gonna have after I'm done going over this movie. I love ZocDoc. I use them to book all of my medical appointments. They're essentially a free app and website where you can easily search and compare high quality doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. What I love about ZocDoc is that they just put everything into one place. Their network has over 100,000 healthcare professionals within every specialty. So from eye care to skincare, mental health to dental health, they have everything that you might need. You can filter by which doctors accept your insurance, which makes things 10 times easier because you're no longer having to dig through websites and call ahead to figure out if they do. You can also sort by location and medical needs, and each doctor has a set of reviews you can look at to make sure they're a good fit for you. You also get a map of their openings and availability so that you can easily choose a time that works for you, and after you find someone, all you have to do is click to instantly book an appointment. Something I also really love is that most of their appointments happen fast, usually within 24 to 72 hours of booking, so you no longer have to look for doctors who only have availability weeks and months down the line. Sometimes you can even score same-day appointments, which is really great if you have an urgent need. So I would highly recommend using ZocDoc because if you're like me, you dread booking doctor's appointments just because of how tedious it is, but ZocDoc really puts everything into one place and makes it so simple and easy to do. So you can go to my link, ZocDoc.com/NetflixParty to book an appointment today. It's super easy and super convenient. And yeah, thank you so much to ZocDoc for sponsoring today's video. So let's get into my thoughts. I'll start with the compliments because girl, they won't take long. I really thought this movie was stunning to look at. The cinematography was on 10 and there were a lot of creative shots, gorgeous scenes. The soundtrack was also on 10. Like, I was literally shazamming songs during the movie. And obviously the casting was on 10. I mean, Pedro Pascal, need I say more? Chris Evans, need I say more? Dakota Johnson, I'm not really a big fan of her acting. I've spoken about it before, but I think she does suit the rom-com genre. Like, I really liked her in Persuasion on Netflix. So yeah, in terms of film quality, I think this was really good. They definitely had a budget for this. Like, it wasn't giving Hallmark, it wasn't giving direct to TV, direct to streaming. They definitely put money into this movie. The basic plot of this movie is that Dakota Johnson's character Lucy is a matchmaker in NYC. She ends up basically in a love triangle with Chris Evans' character John and Pedro Pascal's character Harry. Harry is really, really rich. John is super broke, and you know, they get into a love triangle and we learn about the meaning of love, etc., etc. Girl, When I saw these trailers, I already knew where this movie was going. We've seen it before in movies like Sweet Home Alabama and even The Notebook. There's always like the rich guy versus the poor guy. The girl always ends up choosing the poor guy. I'm not a huge fan of this plot, but girl, I was so starved for any type of good rom-com that I was just like, whatever. I don't care if she chooses the brokey, I'm watching this. Like, and I also really like the like matchmaker finds a match plot. I think it's fun. In real life, girl, we're not trusting single matchmakers, never, because as a matchmaker, why are you single? But I think it's a fun plot for a movie. It's kind of similar to like always a bridesmaid but never a bride type of plots, and I think they're fun in movie settings. So the movie starts off with us being introduced to Lucy. Like I said, she's a matchmaker in NYC. Off the rip, Dakota Johnson's back with that dry, emotionless acting that she loves to do, and I'm just sitting there like, girl, did I waste my money? I don't know what it is about Dakota Johnson. Like, they want her to be this generation Sandra Bullock so bad, but the acting is just not there. Like, I really don't know how she keeps getting cast and stuff. Anyways, we're also introduced to one of Lucy's clients. I think her name was Sarah. I can't really remember, to be honest. The dilemma here is basically that Lucy is struggling to find a match for Sarah. She's put this girl on like 10 plus dates. None of them have worked out, and she doesn't understand why. But aside from this little dilemma with Sarah, apparently she is a very successful matchmaker. She has like 8 or 9 weddings under her belt at this point. Off the bat, this movie has some really weird dialogue. At the beginning, she's at this party, I think with her colleagues or something, celebrating her 9th wedding, and they're just going in on their clients. Like, Lucy literally hates her clients, girl. She's dragging everybody. She's talking trash about her clients, talking trash about Sarah or whatever her name was. She's like, yeah, Sarah's too damn picky. Like, she wants a man over 6 feet, a man over this and that. We don't have anybody for her. Marriage is just a business transaction. I don't need my clients to find love. They just need to find a match that they can stand. I'm just like, girl, imagine paying thousands of dollars for a matchmaking service and this is how your matchmaker is talking about you. They're also talking trash about the men. They're just like, yeah, like there's barely any men here that make enough. To the matchmakers, 100K, 200K a year isn't enough. It needs to be above that. The men need to be making above that for them to be considered like a good prospect. I'm just like, girl,
this is all I got. I'm at $13,000 a month. What more do you want from me?
And they're like, yeah, none of these men are over 6 feet. Like, they need to be getting height surgery so that they can get taller. I was like, damn, y'all really hate these clients. Like, and they were saying that the service cost their clients thousands of dollars. Imagine being Sarah and you're paying thousands of dollars to go on these dates and nothing is becoming successful. You don't have a boyfriend after 10 plus dates. Girl, is the matchmaking in the room with us? Because why am I still single? Like, but anyways, the movie takes us to one of Lucy's clients' weddings, and over there we're introduced to Pedro Pascal's character. I think his name was Harry. He was the groom's brother, and girl, Pedro was looking so fine in this movie, dummy fine. Harry and Lucy, they run into each other at the singles table at the wedding. I think Harry, he like moved his name placement so that he could sit next to her. That was kind of cute. And Harry's literally trying to flirt with Lucy, even though trying to pick her up. And Lucy is trying to recruit this man for her matchmaking business. Like, girl, why are we 5 minutes into the movie and you're already fumbling? Like, what is this? So they're kind of chit-chatting, kind of flirting, and then in walks Chris Evans' character, John. He is a waiter serving at the wedding. That's when we find out that Lucy and John actually know each other already. They're exes, and girl, you know, I'm never judging somebody for being a waiter. We have a lot of waiters, and without our waiting staff, we wouldn't be able to get great service at restaurants, etc. But I knew this movie was gonna be, you know, a rich versus poor moment, but I wasn't ready for how this movie would spare no detail about how poor Chris Evans' character was. They wanted you to really understand how poor this man was. So apparently John is like a failed actor who's getting no gigs. He's 37 plus, still living with roommates in Section 8. Like, I think he said that his apartment, like something happened, the power went out or the plumbing burst. I don't even know, but just very ghetto. Like, girl, the poverty. Sorry, I'm allergic. At one point, she's even talking to Harry, the rich guy again, and he's like schmoozing her up. I can get you a ride home with my drivers if you need. She's like, no thanks, I already have a ride. And they immediately pan to John's beat up, ghetto, run down ass car that he's driving her home in. Like, like, girl, y'all ain't have to do him like that. Y'all ain't have to do him like that. And at this point too, I was like, oh, I was ready to support a brokey, but I don't know if I can. This movie is making it really hard. So after all the introductions, we're shown a flashback of Lucy and John during their relationship. And it's basically the moment that they broke up. And girl, why is it just more poverty? It's their 5th year anniversary and they're trying to make it to their reservation at this nice restaurant. Lucy's telling him to park in this parking lot, but he doesn't want to pay the $25 parking fee. And she's literally just like, if we're 15 minutes late to our reservation, we have to pay a $25 cancellation fee anyway. So just pay for the damn parking. And he's like, no, I don't want to pay for the freaking parking. I don't understand why we're going to these nice restaurants. I don't have the money for it. I can't afford it. Da, da, da. And they're literally at this point, they're in the streets. Like she has exited the car in the middle of the street yelling at this man and they're fighting in the streets, like classic New York core. But she basically dumps him saying like, yeah, I can't handle this. You're broke. I can't do this. I'm not dealing with the poverty. Goodbye. Girl, this was already sending me because I was like, is this your king? Like, this is who y'all want us to root for? Why are we fighting over $24? $25? Why are we fighting over $25, girl? During the fight, he was talking about even if I wanted to park there, I don't have the $25 to park. I was like, you don't have the $25 to park, or you're gonna have to pack it up. Like, when I tell y'all we were actually dying in the theater at this, everybody was cracking up. You know what? I'll give this movie one thing. It was funny, okay? I don't know about the rom, but they definitely had the com. Like, we were dying laughing. I don't know if it's because the movie was actually funny or because we were just in disbelief. It didn't take itself too seriously, which made it a lot more bearable. But anyways, back to the tea. So I forget where, I think Harry invites Lucy out on another date, but they're talking again and she's just like, no, you don't want to date me. Like, you should just join my matchmaking services. I can find you a good match. And he's just like, no, like, I just want you, girl. And this is where she starts fumbling. She's like, yeah, I don't know why you want to date me. I'm literally poor. Like, I didn't come from money. I'm this and that. I dropped out of college, which is taking me out because at the beginning of the movie, when she met Harry, she literally told him, the next man I meet, I'm going to marry, and he needs to be stupid rich. So I'm like, girl, you literally said that. A rich man wants you now, and now you're starting to fumble talking about, yeah, you shouldn't date me because I'm poor and I dropped out of college.
And I know that the point of this scene was to show the audience just how much her matchmaking career has skewed the way she views people, to the point that she even sees herself as a quote-unquote bad match because she doesn't check all these boxes of income and age, etc. But I still thought it was a little bit silly because Dakota Johnson's character in this movie was a bit weird. Like, what she says versus what she thinks doesn't always line up, and her character was a little bit all over the place. Like, girl, you literally said I'm not dating anybody until a rich man falls into my lap that I can marry. Exactly that happens, and then you start tripping. Girl, what?
Anyways, Harry, he's a real man, okay? He's unfazed by all this. He's like, I don't care if you're poor. I just want to be with you, this and that. She told him the next man I'm gonna meet, I'm gonna marry. He was not fazed. He did not even twitch, okay? He was ready to lock that down. So Lucy is just like, okay, period. And they start dating. And I'm just like, okay, at this point, just run the credits here. Girl, immediately after they got together, that's where all the nonsense started. So Lucy and Harry are dating. Things are going great in my eyes, okay? He took her to his apartment. She's like, babe, how much does the apartment cost? He said, it cost me 12 million. Period. He asked her, oh, what's your dream vacation? She's like, oh, I think my dream vacation is Iceland. He's like, can I take you on a trip to Iceland then? What do you mean, can you take me to Iceland? Yes, you can take me to Iceland. Like, what are you talking about? It was giving, okay? But then we get back to John. So John, he gets this acting gig in a play. And when he says this, I don't know why I was thinking it was actually gonna be something good. I was like, oh, he's in a Broadway show, like, period. Girl, why was it this rinkety, not even off Broadway? It was off Broadway in the middle of nowhere, ghetto play. I'm just like, girl, this is really who y'all want us to be rooting for. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention too, remember that client Sarah that I told y'all Lucy was struggling to find a match for? Well, she sent Sarah on another date, and on the date, Sarah got SA'd by the match that Lucy picked out for her. So that was a whole subplot of drama.
Mind you, warnings of this were nowhere to be found in the trailers, and I don't know about y'all, but I don't like for SA plot lines to sneak up on me. The gasps that were let out in my theater when the lady let Lucy know that her client had gotten SA'd. Like, girl, I was not ready for that at all. It's literally giving it ends with us type marketing, because imagine you're somebody who's been through something similar and you think you're just watching a cute rom-com at the movies just to be randomly jump scared and reminded of something that you did not want to think about. Girl, I would be so pissed.
Lucy's like really upset about this whole essay thing because she feels like her company, the matchmaking company that she works for, isn't taking it seriously at all. She can't really get in contact with Sarah for legal reasons, and she tries to talk to John about it, but he doesn't take it seriously either, so she gets mad at him. She decides to start basically stalking Sarah to find out her whereabouts and whatnot so that she can run into her on the streets and talk to her. And when this happens, Sarah is not happy. She does not really want to hear from her, and she kind of drags Lucy. And I'm gonna lie, she was making some good points. Like, she was like, yeah, I was just a number to you. You didn't actually care if I fell in love. She kept asking Lucy, like, why would you set me up on a date with him? Why would you set me up on a date with him? But it's like, how is she supposed to know? Like, I do think matchmaking companies should be a little bit more diligent about screening these people and everything, but I'm just like, how is Lucy supposed to know that Mark was such a bad person? Anyways, after this whole essay plot, Lucy just starts tweaking, okay? She feels really guilty about the whole thing. For some reason, she lets it affect her like dating life. We don't really see John in this movie for a bit after their fight. What really drove me crazy about this movie is that they advertised it as a love triangle, but it wasn't even a love triangle at all. At no point in this movie was she actively deciding between the two of these guys. Girl, the way I got scammed. So Lucy is pretty much tweaking at this point, and she decides that she's no longer into Harry. And she says that she can't be with him because she's not in love with him. Such a weird, abrupt, overnight switch from her. At the beginning, she was really talking about how marriage is just transactional, love isn't necessary, you just need to be able to tolerate each other. And just like I said, John wasn't really in the movie in between their fight and her deciding to break up with Harry. So it's not like, you know, she was actively having these moments with John that made her realize that love was more important to her. No, after the whole essay thing and Sarah being mad at her, she just randomly decides that actually, I do want to marry for love. And Harry, I'm not in love with you.
I know that Sarah reading her for filth made her realize that she hasn't been looking at the people behind these matches. She's just been throwing them together, not actually caring about their feelings. She's been minimizing these people, including herself, to these characteristics that shouldn't be more important than their heart. It caused her to take a step back and think about what's actually important, yada, yada, yada. I know. I just think it was still way too abrupt. She doesn't even sit with that conversation before making this decision. It's just unrealistic for characters that are echoing a certain mentality for such a huge chunk of the movie to randomly switch overnight. Like, girl, it's not working. It's not working.
Lucy also notices these scars on Harry's legs, and she ends up finding out that he had a surgery. That surgery that she was talking about earlier to make men taller, he's had that surgery because he was 5'6" before and he wasn't able to pull girls or anything. Girl, when I tell y'all this movie was absolutely ridiculous. She tells him, like, you know what, I can't be with you anymore. It's not about the surgery. Girl, it was definitely about the surgery. Not you judging him when at the beginning you were literally saying men should be getting the surgery. When we've all seen that video of that one black guy who got the surgery and was looking goofy AF during his recovery. Babes, you do not need to be 6 feet that bad that you're literally breaking your legs and pulling your Achilles to be taller. Like, what kind of world are we living in? But no, anyway, she's telling Harry, you know what, I can't be with you because I suddenly care about being in love and I'm not in love with you. I don't want to go to Iceland with you anymore. Fumble. Like, girl, you could have gone the trip and then broken up with him. Like, why would you pass up a free vacation? At this point, I'm frustrated because other than a montage, we barely got to see her relationship with Harry, never mind her relationship with John. Like, they've had only like 2 scenes together at this point. There was just no romance really, and there was no love triangle. So anyway, she breaks up with Harry and she goes to John's apartment because she's just like, I sublet my apartment because I thought I was going to Iceland, but now that I'm not going to Iceland, I don't have anywhere to stay. John is just like, girl, my apartment ghetto AF. Like, you cannot come up here. And girl, they did show us his apartment. The poverty. the poverty, girl. They decide to go on a trip upstate instead, and they end up crashing this random wedding that kind of rekindles the feelings of love between them again.
At this wedding they crashed, there's also a lot more of that weird dialogue. They're literally on the sidelines going in on the bride and groom like, yeah, why do people even get married? They're really gonna start fighting and hating each other after a few years. Then they're gonna have kids and still hate each other, but they're gonna stay together for the kids. But then eventually they're gonna actually get divorced anyway, this and that. I was just like, girl, not y'all at this random wedding hating from the sidelines. Y'all weren't even invited. I would love for somebody to explain to me what the point of this scene was, because this is one of the ones where I really tried to understand. I didn't get it, because immediately after this, everything is super romantic. I'm lost AF at this point. Just like, this is where the movie was really starting to lose me, girl.
They kiss and then get into a super big fight because Lucy's just like, this didn't work out before, why would it work out again? I'm not a good person. I literally broke up with you because you're poor. How can you still like me? Chris Evans is just like, I just do, like, I just love you. And girl, at this point the movie's trying to push this weird narrative. Love is just enough. You don't need all these external things. Your man doesn't have to check all these boxes to be right for you. And I wasn't really feeling it, okay? To further justify their point about love, they pan to this scene of two cavemen just being in love. He's like proposing to the cave woman with flowers because that's all they had back then, I guess. And she's basically saying back then when the cavemen were around, they probably weren't worrying about all these external factors like height and income, etc. They just loved each other and that was enough. And I was literally rolling my eyes at this point. Girl, when I tell y'all at this point in the movie, people were walking out of the theaters. I've like actually never been to a movie screening where I've seen people walking out mid-movie, but people were actually walking out. Let me tell y'all why this didn't resonate. First of all, at the beginning of the movie, they literally make the point that marriage has always been kind of a business deal. It's always been pretty transactional. And girl, love is a modern concept. Like, the cavemen were not getting married for love, okay? They were getting married for survival, reproduction, etc. I don't even think they were getting married. As time evolves, new things start to become more and more important. Sorry, somebody being almost 40 and still living with 3+ roommates in Section 8, it matters because it can significantly worsen your quality of life. Obviously, when the cavemen, they were already sleeping outside and living in the trenches, they did not care about this and that because they didn't have to.
Obviously, modern dating is becoming more and more of a nightmare, and it feels like the expectations that everybody has for one another are becoming more and more unobtainable and more unrealistic. But I'm sorry, we can't lie and act like things aren't a billion times tamer than they used to be. Like, back in the day, even if you wanted to marry for love, if somebody's status wasn't where it needed to be, girl, you weren't marrying him. Sorry, find somebody else. If you wanted to get married back in the day and your man couldn't afford the dowry, sorry, you're not getting married to him. They kept talking about age. Bro, if you wanted to get married back in the day, but you were over the ripe age of 16, sorry, grandma, you're not getting married. You're too old. It's just kind of laughable for this movie to act like it's making this groundbreaking discovery that we need to go back to the olden days where they didn't care about anything, when back in the day, they cared about these things way more. Like, you have the privilege of marrying a brokey nowadays if you want to. Girl, it wasn't like that back in the day because the stakes were 10 times higher. So it's just hard for me to take seriously. Like, I'm sorry, girl, no.
I also think the message they kept relaying about, like, I just want somebody who can't help but love me and I just love you just because, like, is that not a toxic mentality? Because a lot of people love people that are not good for them just because they can't help it. Does that mean they need to stay with them and keep those people in their lives? No.
And I feel like I did not emphasize this enough, but please be aware that Lucy's client getting sexually assaulted was the catalyst for her suddenly deciding that she wants to marry for love and believe in love again, which to me is crazy. Like, is that not a really problematic way to organize the movie? Like, thank goodness that my client got sexually assaulted because that allowed me to finally open my eyes and realize that love is important. Huh? Like, what are we doing, girl? I just don't know.
And the worst part about the movie is that it ends with Lucy quitting her job. And I'm just like, girl, I know you're not serious right now. I was low-key trying to be supportive and hold out hope. John is broke on his own, but she says she makes like $80K a year. So I was like, okay, maybe their combined lifestyle won't be that bad. Because at the time when they were dating, she was also like a failed actress, so they didn't have that combined income yet. But now that she quit her job, they're supposed to both be living off of his income alone. that he can't even support himself off of? Girl.
And during the scene where they're professing their love to each other, John has the audacity to be talking about yeah, I need to pick up more shifts at the catering place, and I'm gonna do this and that side job, start driving Uber. I was just like, boy, what you need to be picking up is a real job. Don't play with me right now.
And the movie literally ends with it being their anniversary. He's literally buying from one of those like New York food trucks because obviously they can't afford to go to a real restaurant. And they basically recreate the scene that they showed with the cavemen where he proposes to her with a flower because he can't afford a ring, obviously. That's how the movie ends.
Oh my gosh, guys, I forgot to mention the actual worst part of the ending of this movie. So y'all remember Sarah, the girl who literally got SA'd while trying to find a match? Well, she ends up going back to the same matchmaking company to keep looking for a match. Like, what? So the end of the movie has this scene where it's like the guy she went on a date with being super happy and like wanting to schedule a second date with her. I was like, this is very insulting to anybody who's been through something like this. If I got sexually assaulted while on a date, why would I go back to the matchmaking company? Like, I do not need to be in a relationship that bad that I'm gonna go back to the same place that caused me to be traumatized. I thought at the very least it would be a fun twist and she would end up with Harry. Like Sarah and Harry would end up together, but they didn't even do that. So I was just like, girl, what the hell is this? Just pack it all the way up at this point.
This did not move me at all. If anything, it pissed me off because first of all, forget the love triangle, which there was none of, by the way, because she literally was with Harry. John wasn't in the picture. She breaks up with Harry and then she gets back with John. Like there was no love triangle, but there was barely any romance, girl. Like I wish they would have actually shown more parallels. If they had shown why John was so much of a better match for Lucy, why their love is just so fulfilling that it trumps all of these materialistic things that, you know, maybe aren't so important in the grand scheme of things, I would have been on board. But the problem is that they literally didn't show any of that. She literally breaks up with Harry and then she goes upstate with John and they have a scene where they kiss and then they're fighting and then they're back together. Girl, where was the romance? Like, at least in movies like Sweet Home Alabama, I understand why she chose the poor guy. Like, I understand. It makes sense to me. He's just the better match for her. But this one, like, they didn't even try to show why. And maybe they did it to make a point. They were trying to show that, like, you know, love doesn't have to be this fairy tale, sweep you off your feet situation. Like, you can just love somebody and it's just enough. But I'm just like, girl, since when do romance movies have to be realistic? That's what brings me back to my point about A24. They always want to make movies that make you think. And sometimes I just want to turn my brain off and watch a cute rom-com. Like, is that too much to ask for? And it just feels like these days, everybody's just competing to make the next groundbreaking think piece movie. And I'm just sitting here like, girl, I just want to watch a rom-com. Like, I don't want to think. I don't want to think. I don't want realistic. I don't want realistic. Like, can we just have a rom-com? Is that so much to ask for? Like, I feel like it's not.
One of my favorite rom-coms is Bridget Jones' Diary, and I think it conveys a very similar message to this movie, but it does so in a much more moving, compelling, and entertaining way. Bridget is a very similar character to Lucy because she's highly critical of herself. She thinks she has to do all of these things to be able to find love, like lose weight and find a better job. But the movie shows that despite Bridget being a little bit of a mess, she is still worthy of unconditional love, and all of her flaws don't make her unlovable. All the people in her life, be it romantic or platonic, love her just as she is, and I love that movie because of the message that it puts out.
I like you very much.
Apart from the smoking and the drinking and the vulgar mother and the verbal diarrhea.
No, I like you very much, just as you are.
And I'm sorry, you can't be casting Chris Evans as the broke guy trying to push this kind of message because, girl, it's easy to overlook a lot of issues when somebody has that face, okay? It's like Chris Evans at the end of the day. Like, maybe I can be poor to be with Chris Evans. I don't know. But basically, girl, this movie was real disappointing. And this is the first time I've been to the movies and I'm literally exchanging looks with the people to my left and my right. because we're just trying to make sure we're all watching the same thing right now. We were in disbelief. Like I said, people literally walked out of the movie. People literally walked out of the movie. I have never seen that in my life. I feel like if you want to tell this story, you can tell it, but you can't market the movie the way it was marketed, because you're like actively scamming the people going to watch it. Like I said, my movie ticket was $20, $25, $50 if you count the freaking water bottle that I paid for. So like I can't afford to be going to the movies and having it not live up to what the trailers are advertising at the very least. Honestly, the consensus is really just rom-coms are unfortunately not back. We haven't done it yet. They are absolutely not back. This movie literally felt like propaganda for you to go back to your toxic ex. Like, girl, whoever made this movie is preying on so many people's downfalls. Like, do not fall for this, please. If you're planning on going to watch this movie, I would honestly save your money and wait for it to be out on streaming. Apparently it's gonna be out on streaming this month anyway, so you don't even have to wait that long. Maybe it's a plot that other people wouldn't mind, but the dialogue of this movie was also just really strange. I don't really know how to explain it, but the way the characters would speak to each other was just really weird. Girl, y'all need to save your money. Like, let this be, heed my warnings. Please heed my warnings. Like, anyways, I would love to know y'all's personal thoughts about the movie. Sorry if this video was a little bit all over the place. It was a little disorganized and the recap probably was missing a lot of details, but let me know what you guys thought of this movie. Did the message resonate with you, or were you also kind of like, I don't know about this? I understood the point of what they were trying to do. I understood the message. I just don't really think in the big 2025, this is what women need to be hearing. Like, choose the brokey because love is just enough. Girl, love isn't enough these days. Movie tickets are $20. Movie tickets are costing $20 and you want me to choose the brokey because love is enough. But the gag is love is enough, but y'all not even showing me why that love is enough. Like, the two leads have no scenes together. Like, girl. Anyways, that was The Materialist. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you on the next one. Bye.
I would be lying to my core if I said that I hope there's no more drama here. I like drama. Drama drives me at times because I think without drama, what's the fun in life?